Christmas in July, and it's not necessarily just doing Christmas ornaments. It's things you can do for Christmas. My presentation today is the 4 S's. Super simple scroll saw from scrap. Scrollers doesn't have scrap. It's just wood he hasn't found the use for yet. As you can see, I mean, you got somebody like George. I mean, you know, those are pieces. How many of you throw them away? I mean, everything. I mean, even this small piece here. But I'm saying, look at the cross and the, you know, stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Right now is one of the most popular type of things there is right now. I call them stick figures. And they're so simple to make. There are 2 books out that have all the patterns. Some of them you don't even need a scroll saw to do. You could probably do them on a bandsaw. Here's the books. We're going to talk about this today. But those work really well. You can make anything. Here's a boy and a horse. You can make a girl and a horse. You can make, you know, whatever you want. If you got somebody, let's say in your clan, that's maybe just had a baby. You know, I mean, these could be stocking stuffers or whatever. Here's the dog and the boy on the wheelchair. And you can, instead of a boy, you can make it a girl, whatever you want it to do. But it's a very useful thing. Now, I've been accused I've made them too anatomically correct, but you know, that's the way it goes. So I brought those along. The other thing I thought that I would do is, you know, a lot of times the grandkids want simple things. Anybody, any of us can cut these things, okay? But anything you want. I found this online. It's 100 animal patterns. So what I'm just saying, let's say you've got a niece or nephew that wants, here's ostriches and tapirs, here's a moose, bison, whale. But anyway, I mean, all I'm trying to say is this has got everything, and I'm just going to skip through. I mean, here's camels, here's kangaroos, squirrels, and bunnies, and dogs, and seals, and giraffes. I mean, and they're all easy to cut. There's nothing difficult. You can make the vases. These are from Steve Good. This could be a vase. It's just 3 cuts, 3 different pieces. And I know no one in here in their scrap bin has stuff this large in their scrap bin. I know 99% of you have seen this before. I'm going to do this pattern right here. It'll fit on here pretty good. I'm going to use blue tape. I could use shelf paper. And what I'm doing is I'm covering the wood. I don't like to sand. And I don't want the wood to be impregnated with glue. So what I do is I cover the wood with blue tape. That gives me the surface. So when I put my glue on, and I'm old school, so I don't use spray adhesive. I use rubber cement. If you use rubber cement, what happens is, number one, it's not all over your shop. If you use spray, I don't care how many boxes, garbage cans, or whatever you use, I don't care. It's still going to be all over your shop in a little while. Everything's going to be sticky. Yes, Buzz?
Do you have a recipe for that one? Or do you buy the can?
This? I buy it in the can. I buy by the gallon.
Who sells it?
Hobby Lobby, Dick Blick. But what I'm saying, and I do sometimes what I'll do is they have a thinner. So I thin it up a little bit so it goes a little bit further. But anyway, so what I do, and people look at me and I'm saying, what you doing? Well, what I'm doing now is I put my pattern on my surface like that. And why? Because then when I spread the glue, what am I doing? I'm making sure that the glue gets on the edges of my pattern, because that's what comes up when you're cutting. So if I do that, then I can just take my brush like that and take it off. Now, the nice part about rubber cement, I'm making a 2-part adhesive. I'm making a label effectively, because what I'm doing now is if I put this on there, and if I let them both dry, I can go like this and stick it down, because now I've made contact paper. So I'm going to put this here, and it goes down and it's down. And because I laid it on there, I know that I've got glue on the edges, okay? And if I was doing it, I probably would have angled it better or whatever. So anyway, these are so difficult to do, and I didn't want to have to, for one hole, I didn't want to have to bring in a drill press. So this one has a hole in the eye. I didn't drill on the table, guys.
How long does that glue have to dry before you can actually start cutting up? Okay, how long?
I mean, it's dry. I mean, if I was sitting around, it's dry. And the nice part about using painter's tape is now, okay, I don't cut this until next year. I can still get it off. It's not a problem. Now, if I'm doing big boards and doing a lot of patterns and whatever, not using scrap, then shelf paper works really well. And if you're doing intarsia, which you want to see, gee, I want to see that grain and I want to see that knot, I want to see that stuff. Then if you get clear shelf paper, then you can see through it. And shelf paper keeps the glue from impregnating the wood, but you can see through it and you can just pull it off. It just comes off so easily. But now, this is so easy to cut, like I said. I mean, most of these you could cut. And in this case, I would not have to do this on the same piece of wood as that. I could do it on two different ones like Buzz did over there.
Because you use that rubber cement, then you don't use that clear plastic tape for the top.
In this case, cutting this, there would be no need to put clear tape on top of it. And the problem what you run into when you put clear tape on, unless you make doubly sure that it is flat and you've rolled it and got everything out of it, when you saw, what happens is your sawdust goes between the pattern and the tape, and then what happens is you can't find your line. You can't see your line anymore. So, and the only time that I would really want to do that, Buzz, if this was a piece of hickory or cherry or whatever, then what you're doing is you want to put packing tape on it, which helps lubricate the blade, which will make cutting hard wood a lot easier. I brought a few different type of Christmas ornaments. So easy to make. And you can, cut 4 or 5 at a time. And this is about the only time that I ever use thin wood. Because most of the time on my Scrollsaw stuff, I'm using 3/4 inch, So here's a couple. Here's another one. And then here's another one. For the turners, great sellers. Sea urchin. And then what you do, this is my way of doing it. I make the top, make the bottom, and then I use a toothpick between the two. I drill a little hole in the top here and a little hole here, and that makes sure they stay together. I use a toothpick or a skewer, whatever you want to use. Yeah, I use skewers and toothpicks, whatever I happen to have.
Where do you get the white part, the sea urchin?
The sea urchins, I bought these. The best place for me to get them is Cindy Dursel. I'm saying Cindy Dursel sells them in various sizes. And then I thought these are kind of cool. These are just little ornaments. This is a 360-degree bottle opener. And they sell really well and do really well. These, last week everybody was saying, oh, that looks kind of like a kaleidoscope. No, it is a kaleidoscope. It doesn't look like it. And you look through it and you turn it like this. And they're great and they're turned, but they do really well. And this is a great seller right now. This is around your neck. Okay? And what it is, and there's not many of the people left, but these are for your seamstress. These are seam rippers. And they stay sharp and they sell really well for me. And this one's a piece of acrylic or whatever. I'm going to call this the salt shaker with no holes. It's a holeless salt shaker, which are great in the South because what happens in the South with a salt shaker? Humidity just clogs it up. Well, this one, see it? What you do is on the inside, I've made a table, and then what I do is you fill it down here, and then what happens is when I go up, the salt goes on that table, which has a hole in the middle, and lets the salt come out. But because there's no salt, the salt doesn't get hard. Let's hold the salt shaker. This puts Scrollsaw and turning together. These are my prototypes. What I did is I scrolled a puzzle. Then after I scrolled it, I glued it back together. Then I turned it on the lathe. Was not sure what would happen with the tabs on the various puzzle pieces, but they worked pretty good. And now I'm working on one that's walnut. This is just a piece of pine, but I'm working on a piece of walnut and maple. But these are my puzzle bowls. Think outside the box. You got a pattern and you've got something. But remember that scrap piece of wood you got in the corner? You can't do anything with that little piece of barn board that it was too good to throw away, but you really haven't used it and it's been sitting there for a while. So I cut a bird out of a piece of barn board. It's a little bit harder to cut. The pattern doesn't want to stay on as well because it's not smooth. But what I'm saying, it gives you a great effect. But it's another piece of scrap that's been sitting around you've been tripping over. Think outside the box. Here's another one. As you can see, it's all scrap pieces. Little manger scene. But it's all small pieces. And, all these are 3/4 inch here. And, who doesn't have a little piece of 3/4 inches that, most of us throw it away or burn it. But anyway, that gives you another idea. This was a whim. I did one of my turning groups. We have show and tell, and you always have the normal bowls and platters and whatever. And I said, oh, everybody's turns slingshots, right? Well, I did it on a whim and made 6 of them. I took them to Lakewood and sold 5 out of the 6. But what I'm saying, it's a great product. It's fun. I mean, when I was a young kid, that's what I had. You learn not to break windows and you learn not to do different things. But this shaft goes down to here. It ain't going to break. It's kind of a cool gift. The hardest thing to turn is this yo-yo. Why is it the hardest thing to turn? You've got to use wood that's right next to each other. Otherwise, if you had a board and I did one side out of this end of the board and one side of this end of the board, the yo-yo would not go up and down straight because the weight would be different. The density would be different. It's amazing. You don't realize that. So, just different thing. But see, what was cool to me is I made these and somebody that was good at yo-yos picked it up and was doing all those fancy things with it. I know this is a Scrollsaw class, but what I did is took a piece of walnut and then what I did is plugged it and then I turned it. Gives you a different effect. Just put 1/2 inch plugs in it. If you don't have wood or you just got a lot of small wood, but you want to turn, there's no reason you can't do a bowl like this. It's also, to me, I call it a teaching bowl. Why do I call it a teaching bowl? Because as I'm turning, if I get to the dark wood, okay, better slow down. I might go through the bottom and make a funnel. But what I'm saying, this is just 2 pieces, 1 inch and probably 3/4 back together. But anyway, I'm just trying to give you some ideas. This is neon lights on the inside, and you just cut it out. It's scrap, this is a piece of plywood. And I cut this out, and then what I'm saying, it lights up, but I didn't bring the cord. You can make a lot of these, okay? A lot of people have M&Ms or other things they like to keep on the counter. Keep them in a mason jar. Mason jars since 1836 have only got 2 sizes of lids. Whether you got a 10-gallon, a 5-gallon, a little pint or whatever, or a quart, they're all the same size. And you can make tops for them. But it's an idea, a Christmas idea. Here's one if you've got somebody that likes dogs. It's unique. See, you got the puppy feet. And that's a piece of flame box elder I had laying around. If you have somebody that likes puzzles and you have the ability on a scroll saw to cut them, and you've got a friend that has a Irish setter. If you go out to Woodcraft by Scott, He's got 300 dog patterns. And you can download it. And then you can give, like for instance here, guess what this is? Heinz 57. They're downloadable and the patterns are $3. And they're instantaneously downloaded. So you can get whatever you want and they do really well. I mean, here's, you got somebody that's got some fancy cars and you want to, you know, what do I got here? Ferrari and Trans Am. But I'm just saying, he's got probably 1,000 patterns out there, but they're downloadable. They're $3 each. Well worth it. I've been using them a lot. If somebody comes to me at the show and says, I said, well, I have it for you next month. Kids love cars and they don't have them anymore because everything is painted, it's plastic or aluminum. You know what I'm saying? The kids can't have fun with them anymore. But here you can make anything you want. You know, you can make all kinds of cars. It's a two-handed pizza cutter. Only person that didn't want it is he said, well, I really don't need it because if my pizza doesn't come cut, I send it back. Great item. It's an expensive item because the mechanism is stainless. It's about $26. Another thing I've been doing for a long, long time are the 3-dimensionals. Okay, as this one. What do you got? Fish or mermaid, right?
Mermaid.
Mermaid, fish, rabbit. Okay. Here's my cross, praying hands, and fish. Those are 3-dimensionals. Those are fun. And if you're a scroller, you've never done one, they're very eye-opening the first one you do. Because you say, how in the world did that come out like that? And I know nobody has wood this small to make, you know, little manger scenes. You can also make bigger cars. As you saw, this was a piece of scrap that was, somebody had glued up. My pattern fit on it. I made a dog on it. If you go out to Steve Good's site, he's got all kinds of these. He calls them stick figures too, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, if you got somebody that's into hockey or basketball or football, you can go out there and those are free downloadable patterns. And he's got all these. And I know you can find a piece of wood that'll go on. And those person that gets it will enjoy it. The one thing you can do on a lot of this stuff, especially the stick figures, is give them the stick figures and maybe give them a 6 or 7 thing of paint. You know what I'm saying? That they could paint them however they want them. Here was a fun one I thought was kind of cool. Really tough to make. I mean, you know, little girl reading. You could have a boy reading, whatever you wanted. Believe it or not, this is my biggest seller. And not these. My biggest seller are Reader's Digest letters. I sell anywhere from 20 to 30 of these a month. The letters. So if you've got somebody that's, you know, give them their initial. I mean, what does a person most appreciate? Their name. So you could cut their name or cut their first and last, you know, letters or whatever. I can probably take me 1 or 2 blades to cut one letter, and I can cut 3 of these. Paper is hard on blades. If you're in the process, in my case, to make money so I can buy more tools, toys, I use any blade that I have put on the side that I think is too dull for doing other stuff, because I know it's going to break or go. You know what I'm saying? Believe it or not, the best a Polar blade works the best, really, because this is just like a piece of hardwood, and it stays sharper a little bit longer. But I'm just saying. But if you go, I mean, these are animals. I do dragons and fairies and praying angels. But what I'm saying, the letters A through Z, and you've got to have the ampersand sign. I found that out. But anyway.
Question. Do you have to clamp that really tight?
Okay, I don't clamp it. What I do is I take this and take the book, and believe it or not, I've learned to open my book. It's amazing what you can find in the books. You know, $10 bills, $5 bills. What I'm saying, people put stuff in them. But what I'm saying, and then what I do is I take them and I go across the bottom of the book like this, and then immediately before I put any more tape on, I mark that as bottom. because you don't want the label to be upside down or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Then I tape it, and then I cut it out, and then very carefully take the tape off. Especially on these. These are not as bad. These came out in 1990. They went solid covers without a pattern in 1990. Pre-then, what they would do is, if you're familiar with Reader's Digest, they would come up with this design, and all 4 books for that year would be that same design, but they might be yellow, red, green, and something else, but they'd use the same design or same pattern. But what I'm saying, great idea, and I know you've got some of these in your house, Reader's Digest, or it can be any book. I like to use Reader's Digest because I can consistently roll out the letters, and keep everything consistent. But what I'm saying, great gift idea. I do not glue them because my little tagline is, remember, Reader's Digest was a condensed version. There were always 4 stories, okay? And on the fly sheet in the front was the name of the author and a little bit about the thing and where they could get the full book. And now the other side of the coin is I have to tell people that, okay, depending on what letter you get, it depends on how more condensed your book is. And you can read it. It's just got a little bit of opportunity. Now, when you make it, what you have to do is whatever you do, most of these, you want to keep the spine intact as much as you can. I mean, some letters, A's, there's only about this much of the spine intact, but as long as you keep the spine intact, you're fine. But they work really well. They're great sellers, and people really enjoy them. I mean, it's, kind of cool. And I'm going to show you one other thing, and then I'll do some other stuff. This is the weirdest thing right here. Okay? This is made out of a piece of 3/4 inch wood. Nothing fancy turned, okay? I'm doing more turning than scrolling today. But anyway, and what it is, it's a top bowl. And I made 4 of them, sold 3 out of the 4. I sold the bowl and the top. They picked their top. Something simple from scraps in your shop. I used to think these would only sell during Christmas because it'd be ornaments on the tree. But I sell more in the summertime than I do. But little birdhouses. A lot of people, what they do is they put them in their kitchen window above the sink with suction cups. I'll sell 25 or so each weekend. Pocket crosses and pocket angels. Easy to make, easy to give out. Great gifts, like if you go to church or something and you go to summer, okay, just have them in your pocket and hand them to all the people there at that event. I'm just saying. And like I said, it's that wood that's not scrap. The other thing is hair bows. And you say hair bows, okay. What's interesting about hair bows is I don't care what kind of scrap you've got, I could probably get 6 hair bows out of this piece of wood, which is a piece of scrap, but because I got a straight side and I put those patterns on, I can make them. Then I go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and I get these barrettes. And then my way of putting them on is a glue gun. And my reasoning behind that is what I do is I cut it out. I put a bead of hot glue on the back of the bow and then press the barrette on it. And the barrette has holes in the back. And what happens is the hot glue seeps through the hole, and then what does it instantly do? Creates a mushroom on the other side, and so now it can't come off. Here's the pattern. You got the 2 holes, and you got the pattern, okay? What I like to do is I like to cut the holes. I've got a holder. And I've made huge ones for people, for the men, and they like bow ties, wooden bow ties. Okay, so that gets one. My last inside cut. There, finally.
Is there a reason why you always attach it at the top first and then the bottom?
I never touch the top, ever, once I start sawing.
Why?
Because it's right there. It's much easier to do the bottom.
Yeah.
And, okay, here's my reasoning. Okay, question asked, now I'll demonstrate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change it, and I'm going to do the bottom, which is my least favorite way of doing it. I now have to raise the head. I now have to stand on my head and figure out how I'm going to get it back through this hole in here. You know, I should do it the way I normally do it. Okay, and now I got to stand on my head. Okay, now I've got it. Okay, and what is my reasoning for doing it this way? There's no reason to do it because the top and bottom clamps are identical. And I can do the bottom without even looking. I don't have to look. Then what can I do? I can drop the head right down the hole.
Okay.
That's why I do it that way. I'm cutting a piece of cherry. I'd be better off if I had put some tape on it. Okay, now, when I'm doing this, I always like to do this side first. It's easier to hang on to. It's taller. That's just mine. It's got a smaller base. So I always do this side first. Okay, anytime when you're cutting three-dimensional, you say, okay, that's scrap, throw it away. No, you got to have that in there for support. So you never throw those pieces away. I tape it on later, but right now I'm just going to hold it there. If I'm going to do these, I want to use a ultra reverse blade or a Pegasus modified geometry because I don't want to sand them. I want them nice and smooth. And remember, my saying is, it's not like George's or Intarsia. Okay, if you're doing Intarsia, it's totally different. To me, the line is there as a guide to where to go. You know, you don't have to hit it exactly. If you're doing Intarsia, yes, you do. But for doing just regular work, because once you take the pattern off, what happens? The line disappears. Okay, this is now 3 pieces. The reason I do that is the rule I said. You put tape on it. If you don't do that, then you're going to get sawdust underneath that tape, and it's going to be a pain in the butt. Okay, let's see if we can do better this time. See how much easier it cuts now? It's going to be a funky bow. What's cool is you can do this with walnut or cherry or whatever you have, and if they don't do anything with it, and your granddaughter uses it, it'll patina with the oil from their hair. Okay, so there we are. There's your 3-dimensional hair. These go over really well. You know, here's the girl and the dog. You know, 2 pieces of wood, and then I cut the little ears. You know what I'm saying? You just glued them on. But you know, but they're great stocking stuffer or whatever you use them. And they're cut a lot easier than that bowl cut. I mean, you got all kinds of possibilities, and there are all kinds of things out there. But you know, look, when you go home today, look at your scrap and say, oh, that's not really scrap anymore. I could use that for this, or I could use that for that. Thank you all for coming for the first time back in our first presentation.